Well, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? My name is Simon Polito, your head auctioneer for RECA. And today we're going to be doing some really cool things, answering a lot of questions that have come through. I have a truckload here to get through, but a lot of people wanting to know, what are auctions? How do they work? How do they benefit you? How can they change your business? And how do you incorporate it into your current day-to-day business that you're already running as we speak? So, without any further ado, let's get into the questions and answer them. If you do have any questions throughout the process, I encourage you to write them into the chat box. There is a Q&A section there. I will be getting to them after I've finished answering these ones. So let's get through these first, and then from there, we can get straight into all of your questions that you may have. I'd love to hear from you all. There's a number of people that aren't attending today because they're in other meetings, but I've got their questions. So I'm going to be going through them. We are recording today's session and we will be broadcasting it at a later point as well. So without any further ado, like I said, let's get started. Question number one: what makes a luxury real estate property suitable for auction? Well, simply said, every type of property is always suitable for an auction. It's just not for every seller. Think about that. Why would it not be for every seller? Maybe they've been through some hard times in the last crash. Maybe they already know someone who's done an auction and a different style of auction, and maybe not something that will sit well with them. So it's not so much the property, it's more the person who owns the property. Number two, how does the auction process work in luxury real estate? So it actually works the same exact way as it would for a non-luxury property. It's still a 4-week, 28-day process, with yours truly calling an auction on the 4th weekend. 28 days is the lifespan of our campaigns, and that involves a 1-hour open house twice a week for 3 weeks, and then on the 4th weekend, like I said, live auction at the property. So no real extra work or processing when you have to do the luxury auction. What are the advantages of buying a luxury property through auction? Well, the advantages, I should say. The advantages are that you're going to be able to secure your property with no contingencies. Now, I know no contingencies can scare a lot of people when they think about buying a property. What do you mean no contingencies? We need to protect ourselves. We need to make sure that we know what we're buying. We need to make sure the property's in good condition. Well, that's why with auctions, we have that safeguard play already ready for you. So what does that mean? It means that we do all the research ahead of time prior to going active on the market. That allows you as a consumer or an agent representing the consumer a chance to review all the documents that are at play. So we have a home inspection, termite report, seller's disclosures, natural hazard disclosure report, preliminary title report, any CC&Rs if it's part of an HOA, as well as any permits that may have been pulled if they had work done, or if it is on septic, you're going to need to also get a septic tank inspection report. Also, depending on what county you're in, if you're in Los Angeles, you're going to need to get a fire report, or you need to get a brush report for the Fire Brush Act, obviously up there in Los Angeles. San Diego, you've got the Water Conservation Act. You're going to have to get your water conservation certificate for your properties. By doing all that, it allows you to be able to buy a luxury property knowing exactly what you're buying. So that's the answer to that question. Number 4. What are the risks associated with buying a luxury property? I always like this question. And look, there are risks in everything in life that we do. At the end of the day, it's only a risk if you're scared of taking it. Now, we're putting a property on the market. We're going to make it a luxury auction. And then which is going to allow you a chance to have a play at this option. So the option available is the property. Now, right now, you're maybe experiencing low inventory in your area, and this is a great opportunity to be able to have a chance by taking a risk to secure that property. So I truly don't believe there's any risks with buying at auction, because we do disclose and we are extremely transparent with our process. So that allows you as a consumer to have confidence. So really no risk as far as I can see. The risks are you might end up buying a house. Let's just say that. So number 5, can you describe the auctioneer's role in the luxury auction process? My role is to call an auction. So imagine this, the property bidding to start from is $1 million. So We've had 3 weeks of marketing the property. Like I said, 1 hour open houses twice a week for 3 weeks. On that 4th weekend, or that day that we designate to call a live luxury auction, you'll have yours truly at the property. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are today looking for opening bids at $1 million. Where do you want to go from there? Raise your paddle if you want to play today. Looking for a rise of $50,000, $1,050,000 now the call, $1,000,001 even better. 1.1 now is the call. Looking for another rise of 50, 1.15, 1.15. I'll call it out 3 times. Make sure everyone has a fair chance to play the game. Calling out 1.1, 1.15, even better if you'd like to do it. First, second, third, finished or quiet or done. Sold. That's the process. That's my job on the day as an auctioneer for your property. What is the typical time frame of a luxury real estate auction? Typically, we run a 28-day program, like I mentioned earlier. That 28 days can be altered. Obviously, in warmer markets, we may not need the 28 days. We may only need 21 days. There has been some cases where we've only needed 14 days. There has also been cases where we've needed a little bit more than 28 days. We've needed to do a 5 or a 6 week campaign, but we've broken it up into 2-3 week sections. The reason why we do that is because we want to keep the timeline close so that, you know, buyers aren't waiting for too long. Now, the benefits of also doing that with us is that we do allow you to stop the auction from happening. Maybe an extra question further down this list, but I'm going to get into it now. You can stop any of our auctions by hypothetically pressing the buy it now button. That buy it now button will allow you to stop anyone else from competing against the property should your offer be accepted and the terms accepted by our seller. So that's that one. Number 7, how do you determine the starting bid on a luxury property? Love this question. Now, how do we determine it? Well, it's going to be a number of things, number of factors. 1, what's on the market? What are we competing against? You know, is there a lot of inventory in that location at that time, in that higher price point? Probably not going to be able to get our property to stand out unless we're a little bit more aggressive. Now, if there's no properties on the market, we can be a little bit more safe, if you will, a bit more conservative, and we don't have to have as large a gap to bridge when you're in that situation. That's a very handy tool to have, obviously. By knowing your market is going to help us determine where we believe we should start the bidding to start from, which will allow you to have that confidence on where we're going to start. For example, we've had some properties that have started, I'll name one in Beverly Hills we had. It's a block of 12 units. We started at 3.88888. 8, I think. There's a lot of 8s. And we ended up selling that for 6.526. A massive jump in price. But what that shows us is that the market knows the values. We managed to capture their attention correctly by getting them to realize the value and coming out to the property and looking at it themselves, and then doing their research by checking out all the due diligence and proceeding forward with an offer to stop the auction. Again, pressing the hypothetical buy it now button. All right. What is the reserve price for a luxury real estate auction? And how is it? Oh, I just answered that one. No, I didn't. I did. So how's a reserve price? Now, we don't actually have a reserve price in our style of auctioning. I would love to have a reserve, to be honest with you, but unfortunately, there are rules and guidelines that we have to adhere by with the MLS. And those rules and guidelines basically state that we have to have either a minimum bidding acceptance price, or we can do a reserve auction. Now, if we did a reserve auction, we legally have to disclose that price online, on the MLS, on all marketing from day one. Now, in my opinion, that's no different than having a traditional listing price. So we don't do absolute auctions. Also, the reason why we don't do absolute auctions, although we can if we really want, if the seller really wanted it to, but I'm not really sure why. The absolute auction itself is really putting the seller in a very compromising position, because it makes them sell the property no matter what the highest bid is on the day. So when the auctioneer is calling that auction on a reserve, no reserve auction absolute, it will absolutely go to whatever the highest bid is. Sometimes hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars below expectations, sometimes above. It just depends on the market and the timing. Next question. Let's go here. What type of due diligence is necessary before bidding on a luxury property at auction? Now, as a buyer, the level of due diligence you need to take into account is obviously reviewing all the due diligence packages we put together. Like I said, the reports and disclosures. You might want to double check everything with your lender. You want to get DU approval. That's direct underwriting. You just don't want to just go get pre-approved. Again, got to be careful with my words because I've been told I swear too much, but you got to be careful. At the end of the day, a lender should be able to help you get DU approval on a specific property, which will allow you as a buyer to know exactly what you can spend on that auction property. So that's the due diligence I feel is necessary. You'll also need to sign off on terms and conditions. Terms and conditions are a document that we have readily available at all times online, in person, and can also send them to you if need be. Those terms and conditions explain how the auction works, what the risks are involved for you, what the obligations are involved for you, and what the success looks like should you be the successful bidder on auction day. You'll also fill out registration forms, which is basically identifying who you are, who is going to be buying the property. Is it a company? Is it a trust? Is it yourself? Is it a partnership? Whatever it may be. And who is going to bid for you on auction day? Are you going to have an agent representing you to bid on your behalf? Are you going to bid on your behalf yourself? Are you going to have one of our reps on the phone with you bidding? They're not sure how you'd like to do it, but you have multiple options on how you can bid. So that's the due diligence I would feel is necessary for you to do when bidding at auction. Can I provide a few examples of a successful auction? Yes, I can. We've done many of them all around the world. Obviously, a little bit about me first is I've been a real estate agent and auctioneer for 22 years. I derived from Sydney, Australia. I do have an accent. If those of you who are watching today don't know who I am or where I'm from, it is from Australia. I did 14 years there, and the examples I've sold it from there, probably the best one I've ever sold was a $17 million penthouse. We did auction that off. However, it did sell prior to auction. We used to call auctions every day. Auctions are very, very affluent in the area of Australia, particularly in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. They are the East and South Coast. Now, when I come over to the United States, we've had some tremendous success, i.e. that one that we had in Beverly Hills I mentioned earlier. We started the bidding at 388,888. We ended up selling that one for 6.526. Huge result. We've had another one in West Hollywood. Started the bidding at 3.4, ended up selling that one for 4.2. The property behind me in the view, we did have an auction on this property. We started the bidding at 6 million. We did receive an offer at that time of 9.5 million. However, the seller at that time did not wish to accept, so we did not have a successful sale, but we did successfully procure a fantastic option for our seller to consider. We've had many others, and I'm happy to share all the documents with you guys. If you want to reach out to me, I can send you over all the links to our previous properties we've sold. How do you handle disputes or challenges during an auction? Now, don't really have them come up that often, truth be told. And the reason why we don't have them come up very often is because we disclose everything. When you disclose everything, you're very transparent. When you're transparent, everyone knows what's going on. So there's really nothing to hide. There's really no games in what we do. It's a lot of fun, a lot of theater, and a lot of excitement, a bit of an adrenaline rush for myself, if you will. So however, some people get a little bit freaked out. But as far as disputes and challenges, the only challenge that I've ever really faced is when we don't have a lender who understands the process correctly and hasn't been able to get their client prepared for auction day. But however, that's not a hard challenge to overcome. All it is a quick phone call to the lender from us or the listing agent to explain the process. Can you describe the closing process on a luxury real estate auction? Absolutely. So the closing process is generally a 25 to 30-day close. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when the gavel goes down and we say sold, there is no contingencies unless in writing prior to the auction agreed to by the seller, then we would have some terms that the seller's agreed to. Otherwise, it's no different to a traditional close. However, the only difference is that we don't take the contingencies, so it is smooth sailing throughout the process. Do you work with luxury real estate agents and brokers during the auction process? Absolutely. So for us, in order to list an auction, whether it's luxury or not, there does need to be a real estate agent attached to the listing. Now, we are licensed as well as realtors, and we can facilitate that for you. However, we do also work with every brokerage in the state of California currently, except for one, and I won't mention because they're my competitor, and I'm not going to give them kudos, but there's every other brokerage we can work with. Maybe by chance, we've already worked with your brokerage. I'd love to continue working on more listings with your brokerage. So we can work with everybody, absolutely. What types of financing options are available for luxury auctions? Now, we just touched on that a little bit with your lender. Again, depending on the price point, you can absolutely obtain finance on our listings. They're not distressed. They're not in foreclosure status. They are not in a dilapidated state. They are absolutely perfectly ready to live in right now as we speak. Another question we have here. Can you discuss any upcoming ones? I can. I absolutely can. We actually have a unique luxury listing that we're going to be auctioning coming on the market in a couple of weeks. It is in the Hollywood Hills on the border of Studio City and Hollywood Hills. It's a phenomenal 1940s home that has been completely rejuvenated and restored with an ADU, a modern attachment in the back with a beautiful pool, rooftop views. Overlooks the side of the Hollywood sign, and on the other side, you're out looking towards Universal Studios, so you get the fireworks every night, which is really cool. That's a cool one we've got coming on. I've got another one coming on in Chino Hills again in 2 weeks. That one there is a great opportunity for someone to come in and absolutely do something unique and cool with that land. The house itself is an older home, a little bit run down, needs a bit of TLC, but the opportunities are amazing. It's in a great school district and it's very close to all the freeways, but yet not on the freeways. So we've got 2 coming up very shortly. How has the luxury real estate market evolved over the years? Oh, I love this one. So, like I said, coming from Australia, I've been in the industry for 22 years. It's definitely come a long way. In my time frame of being in the United States, I've been here since 2015. From the time I lived here to now, or moved here to now, I should say, the market has become way more receptible to this product. We're now seeing the world records set right here locally in LA, right where we live, not anywhere else in the country, right in our state, right where we live, right where we're listing properties right now. So I hate to tell you, if you're waiting for auctions to go away, they're probably not going to anytime soon. They're here to stay. We're here to stay. And the way they've evolved is just an incredibly fast pace. The market is receiving it very well. And the reason why is because we are honest, we're transparent, and we showcase everything that needs to be showcased. Okay, what do we got here? Why is the bidding to start from sometimes too low? Okay, now, again, back to the earlier question is how do we set the bidding to start from? The question really is, why are we putting the price at that level? And again, it goes back to this. How much inventory is on the market? How is the market going to receive this? Where are we going to publicize it? And how strong an agent are we working with that we believe can negotiate that price from X to Y? Now, again, it doesn't always have to be low. It just depends what's on the market at the time, how aggressive the market needs to be, and what the buyers are doing it right now in our current marketplace. Technically, we could start at $1, but I haven't found anyone with enough guts to try that yet, including myself. How did I get started in luxury auctions? I didn't really start in luxury auction. I started in auctions in general. Again, prices have jumped over the 22 years of me living on Earth. And so luxury was a different price point when I first started. Luxury now is when you're over that $1.5 million range, although that medium sales price in Orange County where I'm located is $1 million. So you're really starting at luxury every day of the week. I don't consider luxury and non-luxury any different in my mind. It's still a transaction. You're still dealing with a person and you're still helping families buy and sell real estate. But how I get started in it, it basically was when I went to get my course, it was one of the options. So we had property management, we had auctioneering, we had a sales agent, and then you also had a licensee course. At the time when I got my licenses, I did all 4. It took me a couple of years to get them all. I was studying at night while working during the day in the industry. But getting into auctions was a path that was very easily for me to get into because the market was already adopting them. I will say, though, my first ever experience with auctions was probably not the greatest. I was at the age of 6, and my dad unfortunately was bankrupt, and we had our house foreclosed on us, and our house was auctioned off. And that is the most common response I get from a lot of people over here in the United States, is when I talk about auctions, they all think of that theory, that scenario, I should say. Not really the best scenario for me to start and then obviously become an auctioneer, but I wanted to use that experience as a way to enhance the product, enhance the industry, and give a better service. I can remember, even though I was only the age of 6, I can remember the experience. I can remember the turmoil and pain my parents went through. And I can remember how we were told a lot of information and what we'd achieve as a sale price, and we didn't even get close to it. Because at the end of the day, the banks didn't care. The banks at those times were just taking whatever it cost to get their money back. They didn't care about the equity you may have had in the property above it. That's how I started in the game. What are some tips for buyers to prepare for a luxury auction? The best way I can say to prepare is to ask questions. So if you're working with a buyer or buyers that want to know more information about auctions, let us take that question for you and answer it for you. We'd love to put you in front of any one of our team members and get those questions answered so that you can give that buyer confidence. It's just about explaining how the process works. It's really not that difficult. A lot of our marketing is only one-sided for a reason. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to have multiple pages of information, because there's not that much to explain. It's very simple. You look at the due diligence, you do your research, you get your lending prepared, you put 3% into an escrow account prior to the auction, you get a paddle, you come and play, you win a property. So that's how that works as far as the process goes. Let's keep going here. What types of properties are typically sold at a luxury real estate auction? All types of properties. Again, depending on what type of auction you're conducting will determine on how many properties are going to be going through it. But realistically, we do everyday properties, everyday traditional listings. So if you're thinking about selling your home, or you have a client that's thinking about selling, how amazing would it be to go to them with another tool in your tool belt to showcase to them that you truly are the area expert and you can get their home sold in the shortest amount of time for the most amount of money with absolutely no contingencies. Pretty ideal scenario if you ask me. How do we ensure transparency during the auction? Again, by disclosing and having the information readily available at any time for all parties. We use a program called Disclosures.io. Is it Disclosures.io? Yeah, Disclosure.io. Sorry, guys, just checking it. Disclosures.io. We upload all the documents into that program. It allows a consumer or agent to log in, peruse through any of those documents they wish, download any of those documents they wish, and send any of those documents they wish. So all the information is always there. Everyone understands what's on the board. And there's really no games or tricks or anything hidden. It's not a bait and switch. It's just another tool to use to be honest and transparent. How do we handle pre-auction offers for luxury auctions? The same way we do with all offers. So generally speaking, we have an open house a couple of days, or a week, sorry, I should say, following going active on the market. After that open house, you're generally going to get a couple of offers received. Generally speaking, they're going to come in a little bit under where you'd like them to, because people are just throwing their hat in the ring, showing their level of interest and wanting to see what your seller is going to come back with as far as what answers they're going to have for them. This is a very important tool to have a seller who's communicating with you at all times, because when you get those pre-auction offers, you want to be able to have a clear communication with your seller so you can demonstrate whether or not that offer is something they need to either A, accept, B, reject, or C, negotiate. What is my philosophy on customer service during a real estate auction? My philosophy on customer service is always go above and beyond. There's a word I'd love to use, but I can't for legal reasons. But if you think of a hotel, who's the person who's in charge, who make sure everything is done for you? Basically like a portiere service, if you will, white glove service. You want to go above and beyond for your clients. You definitely want to be able to showcase that you have all the resources available, the knowledge available, and you can help them guide through what may be the largest transaction they've ever partaken in their lives, whether it's a sale or a buy. My philosophy is always be your best, do your best, and be honest. you don't know the answer, don't answer it. Tell them you're going to give them the answer back with the correct answer. Don't make something up, because then you're going to get yourself into trouble. You don't want to be a liar. Unfortunately, our industry's already got a bad enough name as it is. Don't make it any worse for yourself. What's another one here? How do I evaluate the condition of a luxury property before listing it on the market? Again, we go and look at the properties. So we always meet the sellers out there. We like to meet our sellers out there. Sometimes our sellers are not located at the property. They may be interstate or overseas. However, we always want to see the property, get a feel for it, see how the best way we can market it is. Maybe we need to get new photography. Maybe we need to get new drones. Maybe we need to do new videos. Maybe we need to do new staging. Whatever it may be, we want to see the property so that we can judge it to its full capacity and put together the best effective marketing plan that we believe will get that property from for sale to sold. How do we keep up to date with changes in the luxury real estate market? Again, I read a lot of articles that are written. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great. But again, Inman is a great source for me. I love reading Inman. It's a lot more intense as far as how the industry works. It's really good feedback for me. I've got a lot of positive information out of that. I read Forbes. I get Forbes articles sent to me daily. I'm also reading Current Matters. Keeping Current Matters, though. I read that one as well. I also get the Stephen Thomas report. Now, the Stephen Thomas report, if you are located in Orange County, San Diego, or LA, is an amazing tool. Stephen Thomas is a great guy. Hey, Stephen, if you're watching. And he puts together his synopsis on what he believes is what's going to happen with market trends and future predictions. Pretty amazing what he does. He's a great guy, like I said. So if you get a chance, look that up. That's a good one. That's how I keep on top of the current market. What is the role of a real estate agent in the process? Do your job. Basically, we have a whole checklist. So the checklist we're going to have for you, we'll go through everything with you from A to Z, explaining what's going to work, what's not going to work, and who's going to do what role. There are roles for all of us. We have roles here at RECA. You as a listing agent will also have roles to take place. Again, anything you can't do, we can assist with, but we're not here to do your job for you, truth be told. We know you want to get more business. You got to do the work yourself. No one's going to know you if you have someone else doing all the work for you. How do you handle sellers' expectations with a real estate auction? Love this one as well. So everyone that comes through one of our open houses does not get in the door without giving us their name, their number, and or their email address. I don't care if it's the President of the United States. You're not going to get into our house that we're listed for an auction unless you give us your details. Now, you're going to have a bit of pushback from some people, depending on what location you're in, more than others, some more than others. However, having said that, it's your listing. You're in control. Take control of your listing. Get those details. The reason why you get those details is we do have a rule here at RECA. You need to call your clients back within 24 hours of your showing. You're going to call them back after 24 hours of your showing, and you're going to ask them 4 very blunt and direct questions. Do you like the house? Yes or no? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What would you pay? Now, by doing that, it allows us to put a seller report together that we send to our seller to manage their expectations by showing and telling them what the market is saying about the value of their property in its current state at this current time. Not what the comps are saying, not what your opinion is, and not what their neighbor thinks. This is people who are in the market, buying real estate, selling real estate, and will give you true, honest, fair feedback. What else we got here? How do we handle online bidding? Yeah, we don't have a lot of it, to be honest with you, because a lot of people do like to be involved, and I encourage you to come along to the open house, to the auction. So I was looking for a paddle. I'm going to show you one, but I don't have one with me. You want to really, this is a great option when you have up your sleeve. When everyone's involved and you've got a paddle and you're there and you're in the moment, it's a very much an adrenaline rush. There has been times where we've had people bidding online. Again, the hype is not there as much as it is in person. We do offer online bidding as an available source for you to be able to utilize. However, like I said, you really want to be there if you can. I understand if you're traveling or you're interstate or you've maybe got a commitment you can't get out of. But with technology these days, you really can see everything that's happening at all times. You've got a phone, you can FaceTime, video chat, whatever works for you, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Instagram Live. There's a lot of ways that we can have you virtually there while not actually physically being there, but feel like you are. And that's obviously what we prefer to have. How do I keep up to date with technology? Technology is obviously evolving every day. For those of you who have just caught up with technology, and AI is the new tool that everyone's raving about right now. Artificial intelligence. It's a great tool if you know how to use it. If you don't know how to use it, you're going to have problems with it. Like anything in life, you got to learn. For me, best way to learn about it is to just click buttons and see what works. That's how I do it. But a lot of people will go through tutorials. YouTube's a great resource for me. If I ever want to learn something, I go on YouTube and I watch a video on it. That's how I keep up with technology. And the roles of technology are obviously changing all the time. With our phones basically in our hands all the time, we've always got some type of technology readily available at any one time, which is crazy to think about. When I started in real estate, we didn't have cell phones. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. We didn't have cell phones. We had these things, sticky notes. And when you came back to your desk, you had your whole desk was covered in sticky notes of calls you had to make back. So technology has definitely enhanced a lot of tools in our industry. However, I also think it's taken away a lot of tools from our industry by that personal, face-to-face communication, level of trust, and respect that comes with being in that luxury space can sometimes be lost with technology. So it's very important to maintain those relationships, in my opinion. What else we got here? We've got another page of questions here. What type of buyers are typically interested in real estate auctions? Interestingly enough, I get a lot of investors reaching out to me asking if I've got a good deal on the table. I don't mean to break it to them the wrong way, but the truth of the matter is we don't sell deals. We sell for records, and we make records and break records. We're here to sell for the most money we possibly can. That's our job as auctioneers. When we're calling that auction, it's to get the most money we possibly can for our seller, so that our seller is the one that profits the most money at the end of the day. What's another question I've got here? What types of buy? So back to the question before I didn't finish answering. The other buyers that are out there you're going to be your basic families. You get a lot of different types of buyers, but it's funny. The investors always think we're selling discount properties, and they always ask for the deal. The other buyers are going to be attracted to this option, especially when there's no inventory, because they have a chance to play the game. And I'm not saying it's a game. What we do is just a hypothetical term. Basically allows them to have a chance to partake in the auction, as opposed to what happens quite commonly in the traditional space, where you'll have an agent who will say, "We'll submit your best offer by 3 p.m. on Friday, and we're going to be reviewing, and we're not going to come back with a counter. We're just going to take the highest offer." I've heard too many buyers missing out on opportunities, utilizing that tactic. Some buyers have missed out on a property by $500. And they would have gone thousands above that, but they didn't know where to put their money in on the property as far as their offer goes, and they lost out subsequently. So we attract a lot of buyers who are really happy to be playing in a transparent arena. How do I handle appraisal challenges? I don't, because I've never had a problem with it. Truth be told, an auction is deemed as fair market value. So when the gavel goes down and we say sold, it is deemed fair market value. Now, you've still got to show that to the appraiser. You've still got to show them that you had interest on the property and where it came in at. You've got to maybe show them the other offers received. You want to show them comparables in the area. But at the end of the day, you should have no issues with your appraisal, because the market has set the price, and that is what is deemed as fair market value. How do I handle zoning land issues? Again, if there's a zoning or a land issue, probably wouldn't hit the market with us if it was that bad of an issue. We need to speak about everything that's at play early on before we go active. So when we're meeting with our sellers initially, we're going to go over what's the situation, what are they looking for, what's the goal, what's the achieve, what's the problems with the property, what are the hurdles, how do we get around them, where are they at in the process, and it continues to go on with a lot of questions. Now, The reason why we ask all these questions is so that we know about the property, so we can disclose and be honest with and transparent with our clients. That way, then the buyer is not going to sue you later for not disclosing something, or sue the seller for being dishonest or not sharing something that they maybe have known as material facts. So we don't really have, again, too many challenges with it, because we do have the conversation with our sellers from the start to discuss how we can help. Okay. I've got a question here. I'm going to answer. I can see it, so I'm just going to read it. Anthony, with all the adrenaline rush going on, if a buyer gets pre-approved for only 5 million, but they win the final bid for 6, can they back out of the final bid without repercussions? Or will that be considered a breach of contract? Great question. And in our terms and conditions and bidding registration forms, we actually outline that demonstration. Not with that price point, but we have it as a 500,000 as an example. And if you go anything over what you're approved for, that's going to be your risk that you're going to take. That is, so you are going to need to come up with the extra money, or you will forfeit your initial bidding deposit. So your initial bidding deposit would have been, the initial bidding deposit would have been 3% of whatever we started the bidding at. So if Anthony, if you're talking about a $5 million property, we're probably starting the bidding on something like that at around 4 million, just for argument's sake. So what's that? 3% of 4 million, 120,000. You're going to put $120,000 down in an escrow account that is going to allow you to have a paddle on the day to bid. Now, if you go over your money that you can't afford, you're going to be up for that money. You're going to have to find a way to close. You're going to have to really suck up to your loan officer, that's for sure. Or you're going to have to, rekindle your relationship with your family and see how someone can help you out with getting some more money. The only other chance you have of moving forward is to get a hard money loan, maybe, and then maybe refinance it upon the completion of your close. Or again, like I said, if you do pull out, you will unfortunately lose your deposit. Now, I can say this though, in 22 years of doing real estate auctions, I've actually never had an escrow fallout. So we explain the risks up front, answering your question there, Anthony, for you, by telling them before they've even come through the property for the auction, they already understand what their obligations are, and how serious this process is for them. I've got one last question here, and I circled it, and now I'm trying to find it. Where is it here? Can I provide an example of a successful marketing campaign? Yes. So when you work with us, you will have the luxury of having us pay for your photography. Now, we pay for stills, inside, outside, drone and area photos for your property, as well as a website. We do make up a marketing program for you specifically to the listing. So it's not always the same program. It depends on the property, depends on the size, depends on the location. But we always will be putting a unique marketing program together to demonstrate to the sellers on how we're going to sell that home for the most money in the shortest amount of time with the least risk possible. As far as other marketing goes, like I said, website, we also do Google pay-per-click ads. We do social media ads. I do actually have the luxury of being on a television show that is aired nationwide. So sometimes, depending on the property, again, we can get that property featured online on national television, and that is a massive tool to have up your sleeve. With our followers online, we do get quite a large amount of attention. And then we also have our database of over 23,000 people currently that get broadcasted out with all the auction updates, new listings, just sold, open houses, anything that's happening in our space. So there's a lot of marketing that goes in. At the end of the day, though, I'm pretty sure you can tell by the way I dress, marketing is important because presentation is imperative. So 2 things, in my opinion, sell houses: price and image. So by removing the price with auction, I'm not going to flip you guys off. By removing the price with auctions, the only thing left is your image. And if we don't have the image on point, you're going to miss that crucial part of the market that could be your successful bidder. So guys, I feel I've answered all the questions today. If there's any more, let them pop in here. And we can get them answered for you. I'll give you a moment. There's a few of you watching right now. But let's see Who's got a question? Oh, here's one. How long does an auction normally go for? That's a good question. Really, it's always unique, right? It just depends on the property, how many people are bidding. We've had times where the auction has gone for over 1 hour. I've had times where the auctions only lasted a minute. It just depends on how many bidders we get, the energy in the room or the space at the time. But I'm not there to rush. A lot of people have a perception of when I say I'm an auctioneer that I speak really quickly, and I kind of do, but I don't speak in that real quick auctioneering tongue that you may be more familiar with in the car auctions or livestock auctions or antique auctions. And you got to think about that. Why do those guys speak so quick? And it's normally because they've got an agenda of items they need to get through that day. For us, when we're calling a live auction, there's not that many that we're going to be calling a day, probably a maximum of 3 to 4 if we have to. Otherwise, it may just be yours on the day only. And we're going to take our time because it's very important that we give everybody from seller to buyer a fair chance to make their decision as to whether they'd like to increase, they'd like to stop the auction from happening, or they'd like to accept the offer if it's the seller. So yeah, that's it, guys. Hopefully I've answered all your questions today. Hopefully we can do some business together. I would love an opportunity to share more with you all. We'd love an opportunity to come out to your office and demonstrate how the program works. Or if you're around on the weekends, come check out one of our open houses. I'd love to see you out there. Guys, make it a great weekend. Happy Cinco de Mayo to all of you that are out there today. Don't drink too much beer and don't have too much salsa. Oh, you know what? Do it. It's Cinco de Mayo. Have a great day, guys. Again, thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Stay blessed.